consistently excelled academically. Not only is he an excellent student, but he is a good friend and classmate, always willing to extend a helping hand. Colby is known for his willingness to support and uplift his peers. Beyond the classroom, Colby's passion for baseball sets him apart as a competitive player for the Grind baseball team in Los Lunas. His dedication to the sport is evident in his impressive collection of 7 second-place rings and his crowning achievement of a first-place gold ring earned through perseverance and teamwork, which is a testament to his leadership qualities. In his downtime, Colby enjoys spending time with his family, his mom, dad, older brother Brady, younger brother Avery, and little sister Riley. These family bonds undoubtedly contribute to the foundation of values that make Colby the outstanding individual he is. Colby's dreams for the future are not only ambitious, but also undeniably admirable. His unwavering goal is to play Major League Baseball. This dream reflects not only Colby's passion for the sport, but also his determination to reach the pinnacle of professional baseball. It's clear that he sets high standards for himself and is committed to the journey that lies ahead. Colby is not just an amazing student, but an exemplary son, brother, teammate, and friend. His presence at Tomei, the world's best elementary, is a source of immense pride for our school community, and we are excited to see the great accomplishments that undoubtedly await him in the future. Will you please join Colby in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? States.
That's done. Just a moment.
Great.
Good luck. Dr. Kettler, are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
Madam President, there are no recommended changes or additions to the agenda.
I would stand for a motion regarding the approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I move we approve the agenda.
I have a motion by Mr. Talley. I would stand for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Mr. Talley has moved and Mr. Vickers has seconded to approve the agenda as submitted. I will now ask the board members if there is any discussion. I will call for the vote. Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mrs. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Talley,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes. It passes. This brings us to item number 5, report on the closed session. As announced and posted in accordance with the New Mexico Open Meetings Act and the Los Lunas Schools Board of Education's open meeting resolution, a quorum of the Los Lunas Schools Board of Education participated in a closed executive session prior to the start of this evening's board meeting. The closed executive session was held on January 23rd, 2004 at 5:02 p.m. for discussion of attorney-client privilege regarding updates pertaining to threatened and or pending litigation. Specifically, discussion with legal counsel regarding the status of pending or threatened litigation involving students or staff and OCR complaints, which is pursuant to section 10-15(1)(h)(7) of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. I affirm that no other topics were discussed, nor was any action taken while in the closed executive session. Do we have any, Dr. Kettler or Mrs. Wolf, how many speakers have signed up to provide comment at today's meeting?
Madam President, we do not have any requests for public comment this evening.
Thank you very much. Moves us to item number 7, approval of the consent items. I would stand for a motion regarding the consent items.
Madam President, I would move to approve the consent items with the exception of 12D, approval of purchases. Some information, doing business at CAT simulators for Century High School, Las Lunas High School, Valencia High School, and Century, program 3120, public schools capital outlay, HB 505.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Bennett has moved and Mr. Talley has seconded to approve all of the action items as listed with the exception of number 12, item D, sub item I, sim formation DBA CAT simulators at CHS, LLHS, and VHS CTE program for the public schools capital outlay under House Bill 505. For the benefit of the audience, all agenda items have been reviewed by the board members individually. Consent items are the action items on the agenda presented by the superintendent and staff for approval. The action items that are not consented will be discussed prior to action being taken. Do we have any discussion? I will ask for the vote, or I will call for the vote, please. Mr. Vickers.
Yes.
Mrs. Otero.
Yes.
Mr. Talley.
Yes.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes. Do I have a motion about item 12D, approval of purchases, sub item I? This moves us to item number 8, approval of minutes from the December 19th closed executive session, December 19th, 2023, the regular board meeting, and January 9th, 2024 special board meeting.
Madam President, I have a motion that we approve the minutes from.
It was a consent item.
Oh, it's a
I
consent.
apologize, that's my mistake. That brings us to item number 9, the superintendent's report. I will now turn this over to Dr. Kettler.
Madam President, was there any discussion on the simulators, the CAT simulators?
Yes.
To be had? I know you called for a discussion. I didn't hear any.
I'm sorry.
The discussion was on approval of.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, I'll call for that later. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes. Dr. Kettler, back to your superintendent's report.
Madam President, members of the board, Ella Zamora is the student representative from Los Lunas High School. Ella is a senior and has been attending Los Lunas High School since her 9th grade year. We were lucky enough to get her from St. Mary's School in Belen, where she attended elementary and middle school. She lives at home with her mother, Melissa Zamora, and her 2 siblings, Cameron and Madeline. Ella is currently ranked 12th in her class with a GPA of 4.083. Ella loves sports and was a member of the LLHS volleyball team, where she made the all academic team for both all Metro and District 5-5A. Last year, she was also a state qualifier in the 400-meter dash for the LLHS track team. Ella is a member of the National Honor Society, where she holds the office of treasurer. And she is also employed by the Los Lunas School Special Services Department as a student mentor. After graduation, Ella plans to enroll in the New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology, where she will major in civil engineering and minor in mathematics. In the future, she would like to pursue her career, a career in engineering with either Sandia National Labs or the Intel Corporation. At this time, I would like to invite Ella Zamora, who's already at the podium, to speak to us.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the school board, and Superintendent Kettler. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you about Los Lunas High School this evening. My name is Ella Zamora, and I am a student athlete and senior from Los Lunas High School. Now that the first semester of the 2023-2024 school year has wrapped up, let me give you a rundown of what has happened at Los Lunas High School. During the month of December, there were so many things going on at once, what made it a little bit stressful, but also fun. Of course, everyone was just looking forward to winter break, and I can't lie, I was looking forward to it too. But there are things to enjoy before going on break. The class of 2025 class council decided to hold the first winter ball, and I attended it with my friends and sister. And it was a fun dance, especially because they catered Chick-fil-A. I also started to build a strong friendship with my mentee, who I get to help because of the student mentorship program. Now that the semester came to an end, I was able to reflect and see the good that happened and how much the school succeeded in sports, curriculum, safety, and the functioning of our new administration. Starting the new semester, I did not want to go back to school, and it wasn't because I didn't want to go, I just never wanted to get on my comfy bed. Another thing that I was not looking forward to was messing up on papers and homework by writing 2023 instead of 2024, since it was the new year. Besides that, I'm looking forward to finishing up high school and graduating, but I'm sure I don't realize how much is left before I do. It feels surreal to be back at school, but I'm now just adjusting back to the routine of going to school. And let me be frank, I love school and all it has. I enjoy being able to come to school and see my friends and the amazing staff that are always happy to be there. I see so much potential for this school this semester, and I do hope we can all close off this semester and school year with something to talk about and compare to the past years at Los Lunas High School. Now that the fall season of sports has ended, we have begun winter sports along with some preseason sports. Starting the season was our boys and girls basketball. Boys are 9-6 and the girls are 7-6. We have potential in both teams in advancing to the state tournament this year. Next is wrestling, and they're just coming out of a big tournament, which was Conflict at Cleveland, which only prepared them for what competition they were going to run into at state. The team this year has about 8 contenders that have a chance at placing on the podium at state. While this tournament took place, Cheer and Tigerettes prepared for their home competition where Cheer placed first in game day and Tigerettes placed first in pom and hip hop. The swim team has also started their season with a few meets already and are already looking very well. This year in sports, we have added something new to the table, which is powerlifting. They are in full swing and have started workouts already and are anticipating their first meets soon. Lastly, we have our spring sports, which are slowly coming back into action with preseason and tryouts soon. Other activities that are happening around the school are Student Council, Class Council, Science Olympiad, and Lending a Paw. Currently, Student Council has been working on side projects and will soon be having a bonding with the Student Council from Valencia High School. While the Student Council does their thing, Class Council has been working on plans for the senior class, such as activities for the end of the senior year and an upcoming assembly. Not that the engineering program came back last year to Los Lunas High School, all there has been is work nonstop. There are groups involved with this program such as Best Robotics, Science Olympiad, and soon TSA in the spring. Best Robotics had competition here in New Mexico during fall and went to regionals in Texas during the winter, where they finished up their season. Directly after Best Robotics finished, Science Olympiad started their season. They're all currently working on their projects for their first competition, regionals, which takes place at the University of New Mexico on January 27th and will continue work for state later on, which will be located at New Mexico Tech in Socorro. Lastly, we have the most hidden group on campus, which is Lending a Paw, where they like to share publicity by selling pizza every so often. And on these days, their line goes through the whole cafeteria. And I mean, who doesn't love Dion's pizza? Besides the top of a pizza, since it will make me hungry, Los Lunas High School has been booming and having an amazing year so far. Given the spectacular administration we have, Mr. Tiger, Mrs. Garland, Mr. Hartog, and Mrs. Hubble Espinosa, they never failed to run the school like no one else could. I feel that I'm able to call Los Lunas High School my second home, given the support and heartwarming hospitality that is shown when I walk through the doors. These last few months of the school year are going to fly by, and I'll be able to say that this year is a very successful year for Los Lunas High School's administration, staff, and students. I can't wait to finish off the semester and graduate knowing that I was able to say I was a student at Los Lunas High School. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak with you all. Very good.
We're all learning here.
My bad.
Perfectly.
Okay,
That was very impressive.
thank you.
And I'm very excited about your GPA.
Oh.
I am tremendously excited that you're looking towards New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology, which is my alma mater.
Mm.
So I hope that you have a great spring semester. Enjoy the pizza. Sounds like it's lovely. And thank you again. That was a very comprehensive, complete report. I thought that you did a beautiful job of accurately representing so many different groups of students. So very nicely done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Madam President,
Yes.
I would just like to ask you, how do you like that mentoring, and what grade level do you mentor in?
Enjoy it. I mentor a senior. His name's Jack Desmond. And I'll be 100% honest, we didn't get along at first, but slowly and surely, like I added in my speech, we finally built a friendship, and I really enjoy it because it's just like spending time with someone, and it's just like an extra friend just in a class.
Thank you for doing that.
Mhm.
I just want to comment, applaud you on your GPA
Thank you.
while also participating in extracurricular activities. I know that sports take up big chunk of time, which doesn't leave a lot of time to do homework and other things. So I think that's an excellent achievement, and seeing that you're looking to study civil engineering and math, those are both difficult subjects, and I have no doubt that you'll be successful.
Yes.
Congratulations on all of your successes and accomplishments.
Mm,
Future's lucky to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mention that you're proud to say that you're. Graduate.
Mhm.
Right, representing the school and the community well. And little known fact about being a student athlete about New Mexico Tech is they have a wonderful football program. They have never lost a game.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Madam President, members of the board, at this time, I would like to invite Monica Rivera, principal at Tomei Elementary School, to the podium.
Good evening, Madam President, members of Los Lunas School Board of Education, and Superintendent Dr. Kettler. My name is Monica Rivera. I'm the principal at Tomei Elementary, or should I say Tomei World's Best Elementary. Here to present with me is my assistant principal, Ms. Jacqueline Farrell. Before I begin, I would like to recognize my amazing staff, or our amazing staff that's here from Tomei. We lose so many to YouTube though, so darn. And we also have staff that was still on campus just up until about 20 minutes ago, who are working with our after-school program. So if the staff that's here from Tomei, will you guys stand up so we can applaud you, please? Thank you all for coming. At Tomei Elementary, we do everything to ensure every student has a complete curriculum at their grade level. We do this by meeting in our grade level teams bi-weekly, where teams share best practices, discuss student progress, collaboratively solve instructional challenges, and have data-driven discussions around student assessment results to identify areas for improvement.
All of our kindergarten through second grade students are using Heggerty to provide students with consistent and repeated instruction focused on students' phonological and phonemic awareness skills. We have seen growth with our students' foundational reading skills, and our iStation data reflects the growth we are seeing daily. For the second year in a row, our sixth grade teachers have been working with the Santa Fe Opera and New Mexico Alliance for responsive teaching to incorporate various usage of our integration and social emotional learning into their daily instruction. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner of the slide, you can see our students who are, they created a puppet and they are learning how to move the parts of the puppet in unison to perform tasks that you would see in puppetry. That puppet is also in the back on our bulletin board. This year, our first and second grade teachers and students are participating in New Mexico PED's Open SIAD, which is the opportunity to develop high-quality curriculum that is aligned to the next generation science standards. The picture on the left shows one of our second grade students performing a hands-on science experiment in class.
We are very proud of our Learning Innovation Lab. It truly is a dynamic space where students and teachers engage with technology such as 3D printers, virtual reality goggles, B-bots, and amazing technology tools and resources. One of my favorite activities this school year was when our fifth grade students used the virtual reality goggles to transport themselves to the ancient Mayan ruins and had a realistic exploration of the ruins in their current state. The VR goggles provide amazing opportunities to explore countries, states, and cities they might not be able to visit physically, and they get to do it with their classmates. This school year, we have worked closely with our digital learning coach, Antonio Barrio, and our professional learning coach, Lauren Lansford, to support all staff with expanding their learning with technology. Just today, we had our Apple professional learning coach on campus to support teachers in helping students to use photo and video more effectively in class using activities from Everyone Can Create. Antonio and Lauren will host several after-school opportunities for students to have additional support if they would like to participate in the Los Lunas Film Festival this spring. We anticipate many entries and hope one of our Tomei students will get to share their film on the big screen.
We are pleased to share, after much anticipation, the bilingual program is back at Tomei. Currently, students from kindergarten through fourth grade actively participate in our bilingual program, engaging in a daily 1-hour Spanish language arts instruction facilitated by our dedicated bilingual teacher, Ms. Ward. Our bilingual students are preparing to take the Avant Stamp, which is the New Mexico standardized assessment conducted entirely in Spanish. The data from the Avant Stamp will serve as a valuable resource, helping us identify specific areas of need and providing guidance on how we can enhance our support for our students that are learning and speaking the Spanish language. Tomei Elementary currently has about half of our classroom teachers that are either TESOL or bilingual certified. These teachers support our English language learners with differentiated instruction, language modeling, and incorporating visuals and graphics within their instruction. Tomei completed our middle of the year assessments in iStation and iMesa within the first 2 weeks of January. We are happy with the progress that students have made with their student growth in all grade levels. Our kindergarten through second grade student proficiency level increased by 4% from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year on iStation reading assessment and 5% in the iStation reading assessment. Our third through sixth grade students proficiency levels increased by 7% in reading and 2% in math from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year on the iMesa assessment. A bright spot that we would like to celebrate is the growth with our third grade students. They made in the iMesa language assessment, 39% of our students moved from the lowest level up into one or more of the higher levels within their learning through the iMesa language assessment from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. We certainly are pleased to see an increase in proficiency in our reading mid-year assessments. This is a positive indicator. Our commitment remains in striving for proficiency for all students at Tomei Elementary. The data serves as a guide to improve our teaching practices and provide targeted support where needed, ensuring every student will continue to make growth.
This school year, we are so grateful to have 4 student mentors from Valencia High School on our campus daily working with our students. They support Tomei students with their academics, role modeling by demonstrating good behavior, responsibility, and good work ethic. We are thrilled this school year to collaborate with the administration from Valencia High School to put together the Road to Literacy program, which was jump-started by Principal Abra Aragon. This program brings Valencia High School seniors into our classrooms weekly to read with our students and complete literacy-focused projects when the opportunity arises. We currently have 13 Valencia High School readers who visit our classrooms weekly. This group of seniors have truly made a connection with our students, and during the winter season, when they were done with finals and maybe could have started their winter break early, they chose to come to Tomei and spend time with their classes. And they attended the winter performance. Many of them attended kindergarten's Polar Express time. And it was really neat that they value Tomei, the students there, and the classes they're working with, and chose to spend their time there. We are very proud of our sensory room. Staff and students use the sensory room regularly to support a variety of sensory experiences, such as calming lights, textures, sounds, to help regulate emotions and create an inclusive and supportive space when needed. This school year across the district, we received universal design for learning resources, such as beanbags, wobble chairs for flexible seating, various types of fidgets, weighted blankets, and stuffed animals, and many other resources. Staff is able to go into our sensory room and check out all of these items whenever they are needed to support students. We know that our staff works tirelessly, so we do our best to make our staff social and emotional learning at the forefront as we start to plan every school year. This year, our school counselor, Ms. Marisol, is leading a STEP activity in the morning in the library. Our SEL team sends out weekly inspirational quotes. They also gift staff members SEL tools such as stress balls or little sensory strips. Some of them said things like keep calm. These are just a few ways that we support our staff's SEL needs. And we know that when we have staff that feels happy and supported at school, that in turn transfers over to our students and the way that they're able to work with them. We are now in the second year of Tomei's PBIS program, or positive behavior interventions and supports. We use PBIS to promote positive behavior and improve the overall school climate. We emphasize teaching and modeling the behavioral expectations and reinforce the positive actions. We have our Jaguar store, which is pictured on the presentation. Students visit several times per semester. To purchase items in our Jaguar store, students will use their Jaguar Cash, which they earn in a variety of ways. But those ways have to align with our PRALS expectations. So our PRALS expectations stand for persevere, respecting others, owning my actions, willing to put others first, leading with integrity, and safety first.
We are blessed with two amazing coaches on our campus. Rebecca Seiss is our Learning Innovations coach, and Ramasita Arguello is our Inclusion Support coach. Both of these ladies support all of our staff by providing professional development, facilitating collaborative learning opportunities outside of grade level teams, instructional support, modeling effective teaching strategies, and many other ways. One of our job embedded professional developments for the fall semester was facilitated by our leadership team. They led a scenario PD to support all teachers in coming up with creative ways or innovative ways to address different issues or problems that have arisen in the classroom, and how they can, different ways to address those issues and support our students. Our parent-teacher conferences had a great turnout. We had many of our parents attend our parent-teacher conferences in the fall. Teachers had the opportunity to discuss students' academic progress and other areas of student performance. We have many family events at Tomei Elementary, both evening and daily events to help accommodate various schedules of our families within our community. This school year, we had our open house, fall festival, we had a fall book fair, and our annual winter performance. Coming up in the spring, we will have a spring book fair in February, family STEM night in April, talent show, and our favorite day of the year, our multicultural day, where our students perform songs or sometimes read poetry from other countries that they represent. Pictured on the left corner of our screen is our multicultural day from last May. That is our kindergarten students performing a dance represented from the country of Mexico. We invite our school communities to attend this school year, as it is truly a tradition that we love to share. And last year we had the amazing opportunity to have Barkutanga. I probably butchered the name of that group, but they were an amazing musical group. They came in, they represent 4 countries. They bring instruments, they demonstrate and perform for the students. They interact with students and let them play the different drums and different instruments. This year, they are going to come back and they will be working with Mr. Estelle, our music teacher, and some of our upper grade classes to learn some of the songs so they can perform with them as they perform for the school. So we can't wait for their arrival. Our teachers use Remind to send updates and reminders, announcements to students and parents. Remind also accommodates multiple language preferences, so it helps us communicate more effectively with our families, ensuring that information is accessible to all members of our school and community.
I would like to emphasize the importance of safety and security within our Tomei school community. The well-being of our students, staff, and visitors is our top priority. Our SRO at Tomei is Officer Ed Taylor. Officer Taylor has been part of our school community for 6 years, and our staff and students are so grateful to have him on our campus. Officer Taylor has facilitated many safety trainings to ensure we are prepared in the event of an emergency. At the end of the 22-23 school year, Officer Taylor organized and partnered with local firefighters to host a Stop the Bleed training. The training focuses on teaching bystanders how to intervene effectively to control severe bleeding before professional help arrives. Tomei currently has 1 staff member in each pod trained through Stop the Bleed. Staff also received training this year on the Rave Panic button, which allows individuals to quickly and discreetly alert authorities in the event of a crisis, medical emergency, or other safety concerns. Officer Taylor has conducted Rocket Rules lessons featuring Rocket the Safety Dog with all of our pre-K through 2nd grade students. Rocket teaches about emergency preparedness, safety awareness, and social and emotional skills. And he's really cute. Our safety committee meets regularly to discuss areas of improvement and ensure that our safety protocols remain effective and up to date. I now stand for any questions.
Questions from members of the board?
Madam President, I think you guys are doing a wonderful job going the right direction. Could you explain that TESOL certification again?
Sure. So TESOL stands for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. So these teachers have taken the courses that are needed for to learn different ways to teach students who do not have English as their first language. Some of those I guess some of the ways of teaching include incorporating visuals, having different types of student models, providing graphics, different types of graphic organizers. And we're very privileged at Tomei to have so many staff members that are TESOL endorsed or have received what's called GLAD training, which also teaches some of those tools as well.
Thank you.
What does TESOL stand for?
Teaching English of Speakers of Other Languages. Total. 7.
7.
Yes.
And how about GLAD?
GLAD trained, we haven't completed GLAD training recently, but we have several staff members that have been at Tomei for quite a while. And so they've been GLAD trained over the years.
Any other questions?
Yeah, another question. Program,
Mhm.
can you explain it further? I'm not familiar with.
Sure. So it works on phonics and phonemic awareness skills. And so there's not a lot of like sitting and writing for the students. It's working on letter names, sounds, blending, all the different phonics skills that are needed. And we decided to go with that as a district because it was a piece that we knew needed to be strengthened across the district. And so it's being used.
I know it's been. Do these work well?
They do.
Help students. Facilitate.
So it helps with both. So it helps because we're very blessed at Tomei to have so many staff members that do speak Spanish, but we also have staff members that don't. And so it helps facilitate those one-to-one conversations rather than using Google Translate, which is just a little bit slower. This is more live and in action, but we also use it for conversations between staff members and families. And sometimes just using them to bridge that gap is tremendous. I can say I've used it because I do not speak Spanish, but a large portion of our Tomei community does. And so I think it makes people feel more welcome and like they can come in and be understood in their native language. Mhm.
Yeah. You're doing book fair. Is that with a particular company or?
We use Scholastic. Yes, sir.
I have a few questions. You talked about 39% of the students moved up from their beginning of the year to the middle of the year interim assessment. That was 3rd grade.
It was 3rd grade and it was on the language portion of the IMESA assessment. Yes.
That's impressive.
It is.
Very nice.
Our 3rd grade teachers are working very hard, and so are our students. Ms. Farrell and I were just having this conversation earlier today, and we want to, a year's growth is what the goal is, right? Some of these students are showing growth up to that point already in the middle of the year. And so I can't wait to see what happens from the middle of the year to the end of the year now.
So are you seeing similar, but maybe not as high of progress in the other grades?
Similar progress, but 3rd grade really just blew it out. Oh my gosh, yes.
So the student mentors, could you go into a little bit more detail? That sounds fascinating.
Sure. So very similar to our senior at Los Lunas High School. They're employed by special services. And so they work with some of our students that are in the special education program. They work in various settings. So one I can think of that works with one of our 1st graders. She eats lunch with her and then she goes and spends time with her at recess with her peers. And so she's always like dressed for the elements. It's my favorite thing. She comes and she's like, oh, I have my big jacket on because it's going to be cold outside with them today. And then she's even able to extend that time to spending time in the classroom. Sometimes it's the general ed classroom and sometimes it's a special education room. But the students have really taken to them. They've learned the ins and outs of, should I sit closer? Should I sit further? What are the things they like? And they're really good about being inclusive of other students around them as well, so that it's not just working with that one student, but it's really mentoring as many students as they can.
So I've got one question. So stop. You talked about your 2 professional coaches. Specifically, I'm interested in your learning innovations coach. What are you working on particular strategies? And is that through the Hegarty curriculum or are those, talk to me about the strategies.
So our learning innovations coach, Rebecca Seiss, she does pretty much everything. It's not just with Hegarty, that's a portion of a piece of our curriculum. She will support them in Amplify, which is our ELA curriculum, Envisions, our math curriculum, Discovery Ed, Elevate for science. So anything that the teachers need, sometimes it's supporting them with classroom management. It could be sitting down and looking at data. That could be inclusive of her modeling in the classroom, sitting down and maybe creating a lesson together. If there's maybe a student that I guess a teacher could be struggling with, she may give ideas by maybe observing first and then giving that feedback. And she really is available whenever the teachers need her, and she's an amazing resource.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very nicely put together. I appreciate your effort.
Madam President, members of the board, under the superintendent's report, number 9, we have 2 items left. Letter C, the superintendent communication with the board. And so tonight I wanted to reaffirm that communication with the Board of Education because communication is the foundational element of our interaction, of human interaction. It will play or does play a vital role in our relationship development, collaboration, and the functioning of our organization. And so as such, I just wanted to reaffirm that I will be providing you all with crisis information by text message in a timely fashion, which includes lockdowns, shelter in place, medical emergencies, facility emergencies, community issues that will be impacted, it will impact schools. So you will be in the know and be able to communicate with your constituents. I'll also provide you a weekly recap via email of the previous week and preview the upcoming week. I will be providing you in email a list of dates for athletic events, which I believe I already did, and school events, which I am collecting from our schools for the spring. I will also be providing you with advanced copies of press releases when possible. So I just wanted to reaffirm our communication this evening with 3 of you being new on the board. Other comments? I wish Ella wouldn't have left just yet, but Madam President, members of the board, in the next couple of months, we're going to schedule a presentation for you all about CTE in Los Lunas schools. This is a growing area and a growing area for Los Lunas schools. I'm happy to let you know that as part of that, I've been meeting with the UNM VC Chancellor, Dr. Dusumu, and Blinn Superintendent Lawrence Sanchez about a possible partnership, specifically around what we're calling an early college high school, which would be funded by the state, but specific to CTE courses and preparing our students who are interested in the trades specifically. And so as that partnership progresses, I will definitely be keeping you informed, and we will have a presentation hopefully about that this spring. I was told that Ella participated in our Be Pro, Be Proud Day at Los Lunas High School, and she got into the excavation simulator, which was exciting. I wanted to ask her about it before she left, but so that is all I have on the superintendent's report tonight.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? I'd like to remind the audience and those listening on the streaming that item 9 was informational purposes only. No action is needed or warranted at this time. That moves us to item number 10, the update regarding the progress of the 100-day plan. This item was removed from the December 19th, 2023 regular meeting agenda. Dr. Kettler, if you would proceed, please.
Madam President, members of the board, thank you. I'm really excited to make this presentation or give this presentation tonight, which will come up on the screen shortly. In the interest of time, on the second slide, I wanted to talk a little bit about the entry plan drivers from when I was selected and began my tenure as superintendent for Los Lunas schools. Those drivers were the vision, mission, and motto of the district, along with our foundational assumptions and the board priorities at the time. Our vision and mission, I believe, are strong, and we are continuing to work with those. The vision being Los Lunas Schools will be the premier school district in the state of New Mexico by exemplifying high levels of learning for all students. And the mission being preparing, empowering, and inspiring all students to reach their maximum potential. Next slide, please. Thank you. Working with those as my entry plan drivers, I formed my priorities for my first 100 days, which were to, number one, authentically engage with Los Lunas School stakeholders to develop relationships, begin gaining deeper knowledge, and to begin a collaborative process. The second priority was to collect and analyze quantitative and qualitative data to obtain a full picture of the district's performance trends and strategic direction. And finally, the third priority to provide a safe and secure learning environment resulting in focus on academic achievement, maintaining high standards and fostering positive relationships between all stakeholders. So from that, my goals, I had 5 of them. One was to establish a relationship of trust and collaboration with school board members, as well as my cabinets, administrative departments, schools, and community stakeholders. Goal number 2 was to be visible throughout the district, visiting schools and classrooms, engaging in learning walks, and meeting with building level administrators. Goal 3 was to learn our current instructional focus so I could identify any areas that I could jump into immediately and support or assist students in providing students with the opportunities to maximize their academic potential. Fourth, I wanted to learn and analyze our systems and structures so that we could have some organizational accountability, including our budget and financial standing. And then goal number 5 was to maintain safe and secure learning environments for all students. So I started with a timeline of August 14th, which was my first day on contract. And for that first week, I met with all, at the time, current Board of Education members and began meeting with cabinets. From there, I went into a 9-week cycle in which I met with remaining cabinet members, did my first round of site visits, met with central office staff, and began meeting with some community stakeholders. The next 9 weeks, I started the second round of school visits, continued meeting with community stakeholders, and began gathering historical data. This plan ended on January 19th, which was here recently, I believe last Friday. And so what I needed to do at that point was prepare this 100-day plan for the Board of Education as a completed. Superintendent, I was challenged with balancing my authentic interests in learning, listening and learning from the Los Lunas school community with the district's pressing need for a clear, coherent vision and direction. Los Lunas Schools has a good vision and mission, as well as motto and foundational assumptions, but I did not see a current or any strategic plan for that matter. And so not having that plan was significant, as that articulates our shared vision, mission, and values, gives our schools organization around common priorities and goals, defines how success is measured, increases our communication and engagement, connects all of us, all stakeholders, to a common plan for achieving success and ultimately setting students up for success. So Loom Strategies has partnered with Los Lunas Schools, and what they do is turn mission-driven ideas into results with people-centered action. They are helping to design this strategic plan, which will be impactful. It's something that we can implement, something that we will have employee investment in, and it will generate the investment in our goals along with clear understanding of their contributions. We'll talk a little bit more about Loom here coming up. So part of my 100-day plan was just meeting with people face-to-face and interviewing. I interviewed more than 50 Los Lunas School stakeholders, including all of the board members, district office staff members, 2 municipal leaders, 15 campus administrators or leadership teams in some cases, district directors. I met with Valencia County News Bulletins, specifically Polina, who's in the back tonight. Additionally, in November, with the help of Loom, we sent out 3 separate surveys. Those surveys were similar but different in that they were targeted towards 3 groups. One group being district office staff, one group being campus staff members and educators, and the third one being family members. We had pretty good results. Always, you would like to see more results, especially when you have over 8,000 students. But it's a starting point, and I look forward to getting more community involvement as we move forward. In addition, I visited or attended the following 15 school visits, 2 hours each. I've been to our Protecting and Preserving Our Future luncheon with law enforcement and first responders. I continue to meet with Belen Superintendent Lauren Sanchez and our UNMVC Chancellor. I attended the Student Nutrition Appreciation Luncheon and took a tour of the warehouse. I met with David Williams at Meta. In fact, we are going to meet again next week. Mark Garcia, our Director of Transportation, took me on a 4.5-hour tour of Valencia County so I could visit everywhere that we pull kids from. So Highland Meadows, Meadow Lake, El Cerro Mission, and everything in between up to Isleta. And so that was very beneficial for me. I visited both the East and West Side Center transportation centers. We had the holiday luncheon at the maintenance warehouse. I am now a Rotarian and a board member for the Hispano Chamber of Commerce. So I've been very busy, and this last week on Thursday, I attended the maintenance meeting with our maintenance guys. I'm continuing on this, and one of the things I told the board initially was that I would work tirelessly, and I continue to do that. Currently we have weekly cabinet meetings. I'm doing my very best to be visible on campuses. And I would like to say that I recognized last semester my plan for visiting campuses fell short. I had planned on visiting 2 campuses every day. But what happened was when I came to work, well, I shouldn't say came to work, when I came to central office, I got stuck here sometimes. And so recognizing a need for change, this semester I've blocked off 4.5 hours every Friday morning where I will not come to central office until that 4.5 hours is up and I visited school campuses. So I'm looking very much forward to spending more time on our campuses. I have bi-monthly athletics check-ins with our athletic director, as well as our media and marketing specialist, Sydney. I'm doing quarterly check-ins with directors, which began with this quarter. And we have our monthly labor management meetings with the NEA. From all of this information, from my interviews with people, from the surveys, Loom actually came out and spent a couple of days here visiting schools. We have found some key takeaways from the interviews as well as the surveys. Number one, our district has a high degree of pride and investment in the school system. That was pretty clear and undeniable. Overall, our staff feel aligned with district priorities and strategy. Staff also feel clear on their roles and how they are evaluated. What we found, or what I've found, is that we can improve our communication of priorities and decisions that affect stakeholders to increase alignment and investment and trust with our communication to families in particular. We communicate very well with families. Remind is a great tool, and schools are constantly sending out reminds. But families really want to know more about of an understanding of our priorities and our alignment with our district priorities. We can be more intentional about the volume, speed, and communication of new programs and initiatives. We could improve our district talent systems through recruiting and hiring talent. And we could strengthen our teaching and learning systems, structures, and supports to help educators serve students more effectively. There are more details specific to each of these on the following slides, and I don't want to just read slides to you all night, but our district has a high degree of pride, and I would like to point out 90% of district office staff, 80% of campus staff are proud to work at Los Lunas schools and plan to stay next year. 60% of families are proud and 80% of families are planning to stay. So we know that we have a high stakeholder pride and investment, which we can, is an area of strength, but that we can build on. Obviously, we would like to see closer to 100% in all of those categories. Overall, staff feel aligned with the district priorities and strategy, but there is opportunity for us to improve alignment and understanding on district goals and priorities for families. Specifically, when asked about one thing they would change about Los Lunas schools, 15% of families that responded to the survey named communication and transparency. So they want to know more about the decisions because they feel like they are in the dark on some of the decisions that are made. It's not the communication coming from the schools about their activities and their programs and those things. It's from the district level. That way they can understand the decisions that are being made. Staff also feel clear on their roles and how they're evaluated. And this is something that we can build on. Notable strengths of consistent role clarity and fair evaluation systems. Again, communications to families is particularly important because survey responses show that they have the least understanding of and alignment with our district priorities. And so when I get to my goals for the next 100 days, you'll see that that's actually one of my goals. A little spoiler alert. We can be more intentional about the volume, speed, and communication of new programs and initiatives. And that's on that slide. We could improve our district talent system to recruit and hire talented staff more effectively and to support managers in providing more meaningful feedback to staff. So when responding to the survey, only 50% of both district office and campus staff strongly agreed that we effectively recruit and hire talented individuals. I will say at this point, it could be a lack of communication because we are going to hiring fairs. We are advertising in newspapers. We have a partnership with KRQE, which does advertise for us. Granted, that is in Albuquerque, but that is a big pool of teachers and employees for us. So again, this particular issue could be more of a communication issue on what we are doing to recruit highly qualified people to our district. In terms of strengthening our teaching and learning systems and structures, 62% of campus staff members strongly agree that they are expected to analyze data, adjust instruction, but only 50% believe that there are systems and structures in place to support high quality teaching, such as common planning time, supports for pacing, planning, and assessment. This is another area that we will be working on. Now, I will say that the original timeline for my 100-day plan did end on January 19th, but that is only the beginning of the next 100 days. So my goal for the next 100 days is to take all of that information that is from the surveys, from my interviews with people, from the people that I've talked to, and to complete the strategic plan. You have the next slide. Thank you. Specifically, as we complete the strategic plan, the question that I have and I want to operate by is, how do we support student outcomes for each goal of that strategic plan with our resources? Those resources are the people that we have, the professional learning that we're providing to those people that we have, the high quality instructional materials that we purchase and use, other support programs that we use. And then how are we using our funding, our operational dollars, our grant money, other sources of money that we have? How are we using those to support the strategic plan and the meeting of those goals? The second goal I have for the next 100 days is to increase meaningful communication with the community. One thing that I will be doing starting in February is a monthly newsletter that will be available, that will be sent out with a link to a PDF version and will be posted on the website as a starting point. I want to talk briefly now about the updated timeline. I changed the January 3rd through January 19th to a yellow check mark because in terms of strategic planning, we're in phase 2 and the plan was to be completed with phase 2, and I'll show you those phases in just a minute, by January 19th. That didn't happen. It went slower than I anticipated and planned. So I put a yellow check mark. We're making progress on that. From there, we will go into phases 3, 4, 5, and 6 with a target date still of June for the completion of the strategic plan. On the next slide is a little bit better timeline. So for phase 1 and phase 2, this was really part of my first 100 days. And that was to gather information and complete a current state diagnostic. That was done with the help of the Loom team. They're helping me to synthesize and analyze so I can understand our strengths, potential areas of focus for improvement. That again included information from my interviews, the survey results, reviewing information that the LLS team, cabinet members have shared, and visiting schools. So after that, what we've done is we've moved to, go back to the last slide, thank you. Use that information to inform the priorities and our theory of action. And that's where we currently are sitting. And I'll talk about the steps here in just a minute. But after we get through the theory of action, we will go to a delivery chain phase where we're going to think about who needs to be involved, how we need to proceed in delivering those priorities. Then we'll look at what success looks like in terms of our metrics, our milestones. We'll establish a top line goal to measure the progress towards our vision. And then finally, we'll think about what we need to do to share the strategic plan, to measure that implementation, and then to manage it all the way through and to make sure we stay on track and we're meeting our goals. So briefly, as we get to the end here, I want to share the next steps in the Los Salinas School strategic planning process, because this is the biggest part of my next 100 days. We are currently in the current state assessment root cause analysis phase. So what we are doing now is identifying key takeaways from data gathered, again, through interviews, surveys, as well as historical data. I actually met with Loom today to debrief on takeaways, to discuss themes that have emerged, identify any outliers in any data, which there were none, and other priorities. With Loom, using information from step 2, we're going to frame that information as problem statements, and if necessary, reframe after discussion, develop the problem statements that will then set the stage for a successful root cause analysis. So these statements may describe a situation, an issue, a barrier, impediment, gap, or challenge that we are currently facing and we really need to address to achieve our vision. Step 4 will be in analyzing the root causes, and we're going to use the 5 whys protocol to analyze why the problem is happening for each problem statement. If you're familiar with the 5 whys, simply it's why do we have this challenge, and then 4 times why is that the case? 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 Ultimately, what we want to identify is the underlying cause. to the problem. And then finally, in this step, we will pressure test the root causes and ensure that they're truly the root cause and not just a contributing cause. There is a lot of work still to be done on the strategic plan. We are starting to bring others into the fold. Cabinet members, you will be receiving an email from me as well as a phone call. Loom will be requesting to interview you to get your input into the strategic plan, because as I told administrators in November, the strategic plan isn't Dr. Kettler's strategic plan, it's all of our plan. And we all have to have input, and we all have to get behind it. And so with that, I thank you. Open it for questions or comments.
Any questions from members of the board?
Well, Madam President, I think it looks like you got a good way of going just with that luminol, but I appreciate really that you put that time to block out time to actually get to the school site. I think that's real important that people see you. They need to keep seeing you, because so many times it's a one and done. So I appreciate the fact that you make the time blocked out to actually go shake hands and see people.
And I should mention, it's not just schools that I'm visiting on February 9th. I'm going to Desert View Elementary to bake bread and cookies with our student nutrition staff. They invited me to come help them bake, and so I'm excited to put on a hairnet, although I don't think I need it. And mix some dough. See if I'm cut out for it.
Yeah, I've got. It's making notes as we went through the presentation, and I probably won't go through all, but it may be a while, but one of the first questions on your goals. What metric, so your very first goal is to establish a relationship of trust and collaboration within the school board, cabinet members, administrative departments, schools, and community stakeholders. What metric are you using, and how do you feel that you're performing and achieving that goal?
Yeah, so quantitatively, really, I just kept track of the number of times I visited with people or went to schools. Which was pretty weak, right? You can't tell from how many times I visit with someone like Mr. Tiger or Mr. Pendrak, if we've developed any sort of trust and collaboration. So qualitatively, I've relied on others such as directors or other people who have had conversations then, separate from me with the different people, and have given me feedback, based on those meetings, such as, hey, Mr. Tiger, really appreciated you coming by today, and we'd love to have you more anytime, those sorts of statements.
You feel you built that relationship?
I feel I'm building it. Yeah. It's not fully developed.
So with building of relationships, you interview plus stakeholders, the current board members at that time.
Yep.
Do you have plans to interview the new board members?
The three, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gathering community perspective, have you met with the mayor and discussed any common interests that you may have along with the village and things like that? Because I feel that reaching out, if you want community perspective, there's a lot of avenues.
Yeah. So I've met with the Village of Los Lunas economic development person, Victoria Archuleta, as well as, and if he's listening, Mr. Greg Martin, please forgive me. I believe he's the village manager. I've met with those two folks. I have talked on the phone with Village of Los Lunas Parks and Rec person. I have not met with the mayor.
Okay,
Yeah.
You're reaching out with the village, which is
Correct.
was kind of where I was going with that. 4.5 hours on every Friday, like you said, you're scheduling.
Well, unless my math is off.
Yeah, time's not important.
Yeah, 7:30 to 11.
Are board members
Yes,
able to go with you? on-
absolutely.
Okay. This one, so there was, you talked about using Remind as a tool for communicating. And I'm glad that, you know, in the past, as a parent, it seemed for a while, every teacher had their own way of communicating home, and I'm glad that we've kind of narrowed down to Remind. There has been some concerns about some of the other software or applications we use, namely Canvas and PowerSchool. I know a lot of it is issues with the software itself and their ability to communicate with each other. Is there any intent on perhaps going to one or the other of those, or?
So those are really two separate systems.
Yep.
Because PowerSchool is, you know, our student information system. Canvas is more of an application for delivering in delivering instruction, housing sort of the academic side of things. There has not been, what we have talked about is holding those two companies to the fire, so to speak, to make sure that we get our issues resolved.
So the reason, part of the reason I bring that up is I know a lot of people throw a lot of shade at teachers,
Yeah,
and oftentimes it's not the teacher
correct.
issue, it's the fact that the two softwares are not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100, yeah, that's 100% accurate. It's not the teacher's issue. It is a platform issue that's not, yeah.
Correct. And then I'll finish off with this, I don't know the slide number, but the question is, what can we improve? What can improve our district talent system to recruit and hire talented staff? And one of the responses we kind of glossed over but didn't say is only 60% of district office and campus staff report receiving meaningful coaching and feedback to improve in their role. Only 60% of the staff is reporting receiving this meaningful coaching and feedback. How do we improve that?
Yeah.
What can we do so that instead of 60%, we have 85 or 90%?
Right, yeah, and I would say 60% that responded to the survey to start with, so that's where I would like to see a higher survey response, because I'm not sure how representative it is of the staff when you have over 2,000 staff members, and I can't remember the number off the top of my head that responded. But putting that aside, we do a fantastic job, I believe, with our administrators through the Rise and Thrive program, through our performance coaches working with the administrators. We do have the learning innovations coaches in the schools. And so to address that, I think we need to get more input probably from staff for the all professional development days, and to meet their needs. You know, what are they wanting? What would they like to receive in terms of professional learning, professional development? Because I think sometimes and our staff does a really good job in learning innovations and meeting to make decisions on what that professional development will be. But I think sometimes we think we know what teachers need, but we forget to ask the teachers what they need. Now, in terms of district office staff, I would have to speak to district office staff specifically on, you know, what kind of professional development they need. Maybe they want professional development on being on the front line, you know, that customer service type of training. I don't know what that means specifically, but it would have to be it's a communication issue.
All right. I think that's all the questions I have, but thanks for putting this together. It was an excellent plan.
Vickers.
Thank you.
Mrs. O'Hara.
No questions, but comment, this was a good, well put together plan, and you've made remarkable progress.
Thank you.
Ready? First of all, I want to commend you, especially walking into a district after the school year had started without a strategic plan. And having to hit the ground running and do all of the background work. There's a lot of effort that goes into creating a strategic plan, and it's tedious and it's annoying, And it's challenging, and the fact that you've come this far in this amount of time. I think the previous board commented about their positive impressions and offered you accolades in the December meeting, and I can now see why they had such positive, strong comments about this. I do think that we have some key words here that I know I would be interested in seeing throughout strategic plan. One of those is organizational accountability and student outcomes. I think those should drive, that's my personal opinion, that they should drive everything that we do, because everything that we do should be in support of our students. And of course, we have definite needs to keep our high quality and very professional and much appreciated staff in place. So I agree with Mr. Talley's comments about what can we do to increase the amount of satisfaction that our staff feels by receiving meaningful coaching and whatnot. I do like your thoughts there. I do see from Loom, the Loom strategies, I'm anxious to see how they're going to help you take all of this information, give us people-centered actions. It's either going to be a buzzword or it's going to be something pretty phenomenal. So just know that's on my radar. And I'm going to be anxious to see how we're going to generate employee investments. So making those more than buzzwords, but actually making those actionable targets for all members of the Los Angeles schools, including the members of the board. I do appreciate the effort you've gone to gather community perspectives. I appreciate Mr. Talley's and Mr. Bennett's comments on that you're making yourself visible and you're out in the schools. And I know you've invited the Board of Education, and I hope that we all make a concerted effort to go with you. Kudos to Mr. Garcia, who drove you around for 4.5 hours. Had a captive audience there. I hope he fed you at some point in time. Can you imagine 4.5 hours? You cannot stop. There's no stops. We're going to drive you and drive you.
He offered to stop and buy me a soda at one of the gas stations, but it's not.
I'm saying the thing hard because 4.5 hours. I mean, no, I would have talked your ear off and you would have jumped from the car as it was moving, but kudos to for you sticking it out for Mr. Garcia. Clarification, you said you began your quarterly check-in with directors this month? Was that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So I met with directors initially, one-on-one in August, September timeframe. I knew I wanted to do check-ins with the directors more than just that, one-time meeting that we had. And so I started meeting with directors last week, and I told them they'll be quarterly, and I haven't got through all the directors yet for this quarter, but.
So is the topic of the check-ins really accomplishments of targeted or directed actions, or will this be part of it to be meeting their elements of the strategic plan?
So currently, the check-in is number one, a personal check-in, because I do care about people, and I care about people in this district specifically. The second thing is to get their priorities, what they're working on now, and to see if I can provide any support in those. Third, to ask if there are any needs, concerns, or issues that they see and would like to discuss, and then any other discussion items. Eventually, it will have to be centered around our strategic plan, as everything will be.
On the key takeaways from the interviews, the statement overall, staff feel aligned with district priorities. Overall is a nice word that I routinely use when there are things that I am not ready to delve into. Did you notice areas where there is not alignment, staff alignment with the district priorities and strategies?
I would have to go back and look through the survey data more specifically. I couldn't give you at this moment an adequate or I guess specific answer
That's
to
fine.
that question.
That's fine, because I'm wondering, since there were no outliers, if that might be an area for an outlier.
Yeah,
Especially with that overall statement.
yeah.
Okay. I also agree with Mr. Talley about the communication and the absolute angst between Power School and Canvas. Because communication about your students' goal or your grades and their family, we have plenty of parents who are trying to stay on top of it. So that would be something that I would really like to see as a focus item. To get those systems in alignment, because we do have plenty of parents or guardians who are making every effort to make sure that their students are meeting the expectations. And we're falling apart on that particular area. So I'm a little dismayed. I'm looking on, our district has a high degree of pride and investment that only approximately 80% of our families are planning to stay. I'm wondering if we couldn't dig into that data just a little bit more or re-ask the question so that we can find out some better information. I do appreciate the focus on communication and transparency and making sure that all of our stakeholders feel like they understand what we are doing. The clear roles, staff feel clear on their roles and how they are evaluated. The 70%, I'm wondering how we would be able to improve that. That's something that's a little bit concerning. And of course, along with the communication, that 40% of families strongly agreeing that the district staff communicate proactively and listening effectively. Those are keywords that I circled, listening effectively with our key stakeholders. I am pleased in a oxymoronic way that you identified that our stakeholders are fatigued by the number of initiatives. That is a common problem across the United States in the academic literature. And I'm going to be looking forward to a plan within the strategic plan about how we will be reducing the number of those initiatives so we can do high quality work with fidelity of implementation. Otherwise, it's money down the drain and we're exhausted. And I think I will stop there. But all in all, thank you very much. This is a very nice report, very comprehensive, and I appreciate it very much. I would like to remind the members of the audience that the update regarding the progress of the 100-day plan was for informational purposes only. No action is needed or warranted at this time. So we move to item number 11. I apologize. This will be for discussion and possible action, and that is the number of board meetings per month for the remainder of this academic year. Actually, through the summer going into the start of the school year. So I would like to stand for any discussion about the board members' perspectives or opinions about the number of meetings that we will hold for the rest of this academic year and over the summer. And then into the fall. So do I have?
Madam President,
I'm sorry.
Dave. I believe it would just be through the end of June.
You just want to do the end of June? That's fine. That's great. Thank you for the correction. So I would stand for a motion regarding item number 11.
Dr. Osasco?
Yes.
I move that we hold only one board meeting a month and revert back to how it was prior to before they added the extra board meeting to discuss policy. I think that we can accomplish the things that we need to as a board in one meeting, and if we need to, we can have work sessions if necessary. So I guess my motion is that we move to one meeting.
I have a motion by Mr. Tully to move board meetings to one meeting per month. I would stand for a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this topic? I wonder if we moved to one meeting per month, Mr. or Dr. Kettler, I know that you have school presentations already scheduled. What would that do to, would that negatively impact schools being able to present?
It would not negatively impact schools that need to present. We would have to have 2 schools per meeting present. So it will lengthen the one meeting, but everybody will still have the opportunity to present.
And will one meeting per month from your perspective negatively impact any of the departments? Or by the time that they need to get things to finance or other things that they would need to do?
No, it would not impact any of the department's work. Anything that needs to happen such as policy review or a review of, let's say, New Mexico vistas and data could be done in a work session.
I think my only concern is that a 3-hour meeting, actually a 2-hour meeting, and a half-hour meeting becomes very weary, and we have staff that are here from early in the morning. And then we expect them back bright-eyed and bushy-tailed tomorrow morning for work. And I know you have a long drive home, so I worry a little bit about a length of a board meeting. But those are only my concerns. Is there any other discussion? Comments or?
Well, I'm wondering.
Member Vickers, Madam President, 1 month is feasible. It is really a question of how long you want to be in that one board meeting. Because the agenda could be quite long depending on what needs to go on the agenda. But it is feasible. Did that answer your question? It just lengthens the one meeting, I guess.
Madam President, I actually have one more question directed to Mr. Vickers and Mr. Bennett. In the past, you've been involved in meetings in, board meetings once a month as opposed to twice a month, correct? And were you able to accomplish the objectives of the meeting with just one meeting, or do you feel it's better to have 2 meetings from your experience?
Well, my opinion is, I think one, if it's outlaid on and there's not just a lot of lettuce put into the meeting, in other words, we get work done, we stay on task, and I think it's also financially beneficial for the district to have 1 meeting a month. So I think 1 meeting, we should be able to knock it out. Other than like the fact that there's policy or stuff, and I agree with you, there could be work sessions involved with that.
Mr. Vickers?
Yeah, I agree with that. I remember from my past board meeting, we had them go sometimes past midnight. And we actually had where we had a recess and continued the next day. So it can get cumbersome. But I think we need to be flexible about possibly setting up the agenda so it's in priority order. And if we don't quite get to everything, we can defer to the next board.
Is there any other discussion? Mr. Talley has moved and Mrs. Otero has seconded the motion to move or to have 1 meeting per month for the regularly scheduled board meetings. I will ask, or I will call for the vote. Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mrs. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Talley,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes, motion passes. So, Dr. Kettler and Mrs. Wolf, I am sure that you will ensure that you will give notice that the meetings are updated and notice is given or voted. So I would like to go back to item 12B1, which we did not include in the consent items, and ask for a motion to approve item 12D1, which is the sim formation doing business as CAT simulators for CHS, LLHS, and VHS CTE programs under I'm going to hope I get this right. Operator code 31200. Did I say that correctly? I'm learning a lot of new vocabulary. Public Schools Capital Outlay under House Bill 505. For approval.
Madam President, Can we have a discussion on maybe an explanation on what it is?
The discussion follows after the second.
I'll motion to approve it.
Madam President, I'll second that for the sake of discussion.
Is there any discussion? Dr. Kettler?
Madam President, members of the board, I'd like to call interim Chief Academic Officer Jessica Montano to the podium and Chief Finance Officer Cindy Tracy.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Kettler, we stand for any questions that you may have on the CAT simulators.
I would like to start with, if you could please provide the wonderful and detailed explanation about what this is, how students will benefit. It's just terrific. So I wanted to see if we could get, if the public can now hear about this opportunity.
Absolutely. I am actually really excited to talk about this, and thank you for having me to do that today. So there is a push in both high school and post-secondary for virtual and simulated experiences for students. What this actually is, would be one in each of our high schools, and it's a simulation that simulates 3 construction heavy equipment machines. So it would be a dozer, it would be a backhoe loader, and it would be an excavator. Those 3 specifically kind of go across several trades. What this is it gives an opportunity for students to experience what it is to run a heavy equipment. Because we're going with CAT has its own training involved that comes with the purchase. When students leave Los Lunas High School, Century High School, or Valencia High School, they have the opportunity to leave with the certificate from Caterpillar, which is industry recognized. Industries are actually using these simulators right now in their own training. So our students have this opportunity to come into industry with a certification that industry already recognizes. One of the things that is the benefit of that is it's a low risk environment for students to be able to explore as well. So for an example, right now we have students who are doing internships, doing job shadows, but they're not allowed to get on machines. They're not allowed to be on work sites because they're not 18, they're not employed, or they're not old, they're just simply not old enough, and insurances don't cover that. So they don't get that same experience. They would get this experience with this. What we plan to do is use it for not just one specific class, but it would be in a lab environment at each of our high schools. So that means that any student, regardless of what class they're actually registered in, would have an opportunity to have that experience and also to gain those certificates.
Just from the presentation committee that there were a certain number of hours for the different levels of certificate. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So there's, depending on if a student wants to do let's just say excavating, there would be different simulations for them to do. For an example, it might be elevations are different or terrain is different. And so they would go through each one of those modules, and then they would get that certificate for that module.
And students could participate in all of those simulations.
They could participate in all of those simulations. Yes. Multiple, because each one of those pieces of equipment has different modules.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ms. Turner, could you speak?
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Kettler. Yes, so we received in the, I wrote it down, the Public School Outlay Fund. Last year was the first year we've ever received it, as far as I know, going back like 20 years. We received a portion in that fund, and it was meant for just maintenance and repairs. And that one had a 3-year expiration date. We still have some of that money left in that fund. And then in this fiscal year, we received, in the same fund, we received 2 awards. One award was specifically just for safety and security. And the other award was a combination of preschool, CTE, and then the rest for maintenance and repair. So it didn't say how much to spend in each one. It was just open to those three categories. And that one does not have an expiration date. So, so each cabinet member that's over those particular areas discussed what they wanted to do with the funds. And that is what they came up with for CTE.
So, is there some, do you have some sense of how many students are interested in this that want to be?
So we don't necessarily have a number, but what we're doing is we really are trying to build up our CTE programs. And one of the things that we're trying to do is introduce things to students even prior to coming into high school so that they know that those options are there. So right now we're working with 8th graders and they also have VR experience with Transfer VR, which is a career virtual reality where they get to experience different careers. Like maybe they want to work on a car, so they're virtually working on a car, or maybe they want to do health careers. There's a simulation in there that they actually do surgery on a knee. So it gets them into health careers. So our 8th grade students are getting this opportunity to look at all of the exploration of all the different careers. And then when they go to sign up for classes in high school, they kind of know, you know what, I kind of like doing some of that automotive stuff. I never thought about taking automotives because I'm a girl or because I've never been around cars. And now they have that kind of that confidence to move into that. So I hope that as we continue to build on our virtual reality and our CTE classes and through the simulation that we can get more kids involved in that.
Correct. This is correct. This is a specific fund. So it's the public capital outlay fund and it's like three awards in one fund. So it's last year's leftover and then the one fund that's covering 3 different categories and then the other one for just safety and security. So all in one fund, nothing to do with operational funds. And I'm really hoping that next year it would happen again, being we got it 2 years in a row, but I'm not sure. I just know we've received it twice. And last year was the first time I've ever seen that fund used
So
or received.
follow up on that. We're paying this company. They offer coaching, they offer equipment also because this is capital out for the simulators. So how long is that coaching good for? And, you know, does it end in the end of June and we have to pay for something else going forward, or how does that work?
Elsie, I know we had talked about the, what possibilities might be for any type of like instructional materials that might go with it. So those might be other options that might, happen. We were just kind of going over the different avenues that might be available for
Correct.
that. So
we do get a year's subscription for the curriculum and instruction piece. And there's 3 different levels that they offer. And for the first year, it's already incorporated in our first purchase that we get the max amount of curriculum, which includes one of their own instructors who will help kind of guide our instructors on things. But as we move throughout, different years, that level of curriculum, we won't need quite that same level. And so the price does decrease with each year. And we do have different fundings that we would be able to support that through, such as our Carl Perkins and Next Gen, which is part of our CTE funding. And it's a minimal cost
So you said this,
just for the curriculum, and which is the highest level of curriculum that they offer, which comes with their instructors, virtual. And then the equipment is ours. Yes. So
she,
Yeah, it's the subscriptions that we would probably have to pay for, not necessarily. Once you have the instructor for the onboarding piece, you wouldn't need that much. You could go to the second level, which is just the curriculum.
So I got a question. How long does it take to receive equipment?
Good question. When I spoke with the vendor in December, he said that if we had purchased it on that day, that we would probably be able to have it in our possession and set up and ready to go by the end of February. So we're looking at a probably anywhere between 30 and 60-day setup is what they've told us.
So this is some-
Yes, and with this money, we would actually have to have it in our possession by June 30th of our fiscal year, so.
how big?
So it's about 8, once you put the screens out, it's about an 8-foot by 5-foot.
You mean? Something like that. What was that?
So UNMVC, Belen and Los Lunas, me, have been discussing what programs could be offered at UNMVC that students could come, begin working towards certifications for industry. There will be a meeting coming up, set up by Victoria Archuleta, the economic development person for the village of Los Lunas, with industry. And the hope for that meeting is to identify the top 3 to 5 areas of need in terms of employment and what skills and certifications go with that. From that point, the hope is that UNMVC could implement beginning in the fall, maybe those top 3 areas of need, those programs that students could specifically register for in order to gain industry certifications. And then after that, just adding more after that.
So the
This is not one of the ones, no.
Okay, so that was what.
We've talked about, yeah. We've talked about plumbing, electrical, some other
But this is something.
HVAC. This
You
is,
could work together.
at this time, no. This is not, this was not on the radar for them.
Well, Madam President, Dr. Kerr, with that being said, is it possible, like, the BC campus, we have the automotive program at Valencia High School, is something that they can tie into with this and getting certification for people going to BC campus? I mean, after school hours, type thing.
We haven't looked at that or discussed that. There's a lot of things that have to fall into place with that partnership with UNMVC. Number one, it's an application process. Number 2, the board would have to approve that. And then number 3, PED would have to accept that application, as it's written. And so we haven't got far enough down the road to say, we'll offer, students from UNMVC after hours. There would be joint uses and MOUs and all kinds of things that would have to be worked out. And so right now, it hasn't been a discussion. I'm not saying it couldn't be, but
I just see potential there.
yeah. I will say, Madam President, members of the board, oftentimes what I've experienced in 25 years in education is we say we offer CT, districts say they offer CTE courses, but there's no certification or anything at the end of that for students. And so all we've done is give them a sampling of what it would be like or what it means, and then they graduate and have to go and almost start over during those certifications. And so I'm excited about this because if it's approved, because it's a one step closer to graduating from high school, being able to walk on to a job site and say, hey, I'm Caterpillar certified in grading, grading, whatever it is.
Excavating.
Yeah, excavating. Yeah.
I would like to add that across the nation, CTE programs that offer industry level certification are one of the indicators that students identify in terms of being connected to their schools and wanting to complete those processes and course requirements and all of the other things so that they successfully graduate on time. The other thing that is in the academic literature about CTE courses, especially for students who would be first-time graduates in their homes, is this is more than just a diploma. This is a diploma with some power because now these students are prepared to enter the workforce. There's a sense of pride that of course should be accompanying this. So I know Ohio has moved to offer quite a few CTE programs and CTE courses that offer industry certification. And Ohio scores significantly higher than New Mexico on many different metrics. So I know I'm particularly interested because I would like to see the benefit for the students. And I applaud the cabinet for looking into this and finding a high quality program with a reputable national level company with a national level certification program. So with that, if there are no other comments or discussion.
I do have one more question. What is the lifetime? So obviously there's gonna be a maintenance contract or something. But is there any idea, I mean, the truck trades aren't going away, so
Right, exactly.
that part of it obviously.
So there's a 30, oh, I'm sorry. So with this purchase, we will get a 36-month unlimited warranty on it. I do know that simulators are just coming onto the scene. I think the first time I became aware of them was like 2020. So I mean, that's fairly new and fairly recent. So I can't tell you that these machines usually last 5 to 10 years. I do know that software will probably be updated because it is, because it does use the computer program. So I'm sure those things would have to be updated. But this is a new adventure for us.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So points of discussion. I'd like to call for the vote, please. Pardon me. Mr. Vickers.
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Otero.
Yes.
Mr. Talley.
Yes.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
And I vote yes, gladly. Motion passes. New business, item number 13. This is to give the board members an opportunity to request from Dr. Kettler and the staff topics for upcoming board work sessions and or board meetings. So at this time, I will ask if there are any board member requests for topics to be discussed in upcoming work sessions or regular special meetings.
Madam Chair, I would like to have a work session or something explaining what we are going to do with the phase out of ESSER funds. How that impacts our operational funding and all the ins and outs of that. We hired people, we have people on staff on those funds that we're losing. So what are we going to do about that? And are we going to fill in the gaps?
Thank you, Mr. Vickers. Other members of the board? Special topics? I provided in email to Dr. Kettler a list, potential special topics for work sessions. One of those, Dr. Kettler and I had a brief opportunity to have a couple of conversations. One, of course, is some detailed work and detailed presentations on terms of the New Mexico Vistas data. We had an agreement with that one. The other is for the Public Schools Finance Rankings. Did I say that correctly, Dr. Brooks? Okay, for us all to understand what that means and the implications of those rankings in terms of definitely for the strategic plan and then also for spending plans moving forward. I also asked for the possibility of a work session to help us understand how we are addressing students with special needs who have severe issues. And we have some concerns that for these students, and so that needs to be investigated and fleshed out a little bit more. It's a very high level, so I apologize that that's as high level. Mr. Talbot and Mr. Bennett, yes, topics at this point?
No, at this point, thank you.
This information was for the purpose of gathering input. No action is needed for this item at this time. So this brings us to item number 14, announcement of meetings. As allowed by the Open Meetings Act and by the district meetings resolution, on occasion, a quorum of the board members attend the same function, including those held at school sites at the district level, as well as sports functions, conferences, workshops, trainings, and other community events. Board members will refrain from discussing and or acting on Los Lunas Schools Board of Education issues in those settings. In addition, only official meetings are published, and if other meetings are scheduled, they will be announced in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. With that being said, I would like to announce the following meeting next Thursday and Friday, February 1st through the 3rd, 2024 is the New Mexico School Board Association 2024 Board Member Institute. This will be held at the Hilton Hotel and Santa Fe Convention Center, which is located on 100 Sandoval Street at the corner of 201 West Marcy Street in Santa Fe. There will be a quorum in attendance while we do that particular training. We will have some changes to what we had previously published for the meetings, given the motion tonight and it passing. So the meeting for February, the Finance Committee meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 13, 2024 in this particular boardroom, and that will begin at 3:00 p.m. And the next regularly scheduled board meeting will be on Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 in this boardroom meeting at 6:00 p.m. Before I call for a motion to adjourn, I would ask that the members of the board remain seated for a few moments as we have some signatures that we need to obtain. And I would like to do 4 small, did you have?
Madam President, sorry for interrupting. I would like to schedule a work session on February 20th, which would be prior to the next regular board meeting. As discussed this evening with item number 13, new business, there are quite a few work sessions that we need to start scheduling. And so I would ask that we block off 2 hours of time prior to the board meeting for that work session with a little break in between for you all to eat dinner.
What time will that?
3 o'clock, 3 to 5.
We have a finals meeting.
I'll switch it to the 13th.
Yes. And the finance committee meeting will be at what time?
3:00
3:00
on Tuesday the 13th.
All right.
So I have 4 small shout outs that I want to do before we call for the adjournment. First of all, the Board of Education would like to congratulate and give a shout out to one of our very own, Mr. Ainer, a student at Valencia High School. Cohen has earned a spot representing Los Lunas Schools in the Junior Olympics for shooting sports this weekend as part of the New Mexico Civilian Marksmanship Program. Cohen recently shot at Winter Air Gun in Colorado Springs. The Winter Air Gun competition is the second part of Olympic air rifle trials. Cohen finished 6th in his age group U15. The coaches for the New Mexico Civilian Marksmanship Program are Mr. Eric Headland, Mr. Howard Beatty, Mr. Casey Ainer, and Ms. Thomas Shaver. She is the 4-H representative that helps to participate in the coaching activities. All of these coaches anticipate at least one team of 4 from Los Angeles High School to join Cohen at the CMP State Championship, which will be held in Dr. Kettler's old stomping grounds, Rio Rancho, February 23 and 24. Other students from Valencia County that we are also sending our support and best wishes to are students from Soda and Belen High School. The USA Shooting Junior Olympics will be in Colorado Springs, April 2 through 12, so stay tuned. Also, in this month's Village News, I noticed that Mr. Eric Tiger, principal at Los Angeles High School, and Mr. Greg Hennington were voted best principal and best coach respectively. While I have not met Mr. Tiger yet, or Mr. Hennington, I certainly have fond memories of Mr. Hennington's father, Mr. Rex Hennington, and believe excellence in coaching are part of the Hennington genetic code. My congratulations to both gentlemen. Also a shout out to Ms. Jaden Montoya. She is a junior at Valencia High School and on the girls basketball team. Jaden, I'm sorry, was recently acknowledged for achieving 1,000 points in her high school career. Can you imagine how many basketballs she has shot and made to get 1,000 points? That is a lot of time on the court. So congratulations to Jaden. Some of our Valencia High School FFA members were recently featured on the National FFA website for their continued efforts to promote New Mexico agriculture in the classroom, which is a key industry for our area. So I want to congratulate those young men and women. And finally, this part is very heartwarming and brings definitely tears to my eyes and a very swelled and proud heart. Dr. Kettler shared with us a very touching, heartwarming letter he received from an employee of the Department of Veteran Affairs in Albuquerque. During the week of January 10th, the Valencia High School boys basketball team was enjoying a post-game meal at a restaurant in Albuquerque when an elderly woman experienced some difficulties navigating out of the restaurant and her walker. The woman fell in the parking lot, and members of the boys basketball team plus their coach ran to her aid, helped her regain her comportment, and assisted her to the bus stop. So this still is very heartwarming. I think it's very, very exciting because obviously these young men have been raised in very respectful, caring homes and have the character of soon to be very great men. So I want to congratulate them. Nicely done.
Madam Chair, I just want to mention one thing, a couple things. The shooting sports, I'm glad we're acknowledging them. The basketball player, there's probably a bunch of other people that have achieved great things, and we're unaware of it at this point in time. But we want to make sure that they are acknowledged. So you're aware of anything else, we would certainly like to hear about it. Regarding the Valencia boys basketball team, that was not only, we got the letter from a community member in Albuquerque, but it was written up in the Albuquerque Journal on the sports page as one of the top 10 things that happened in sports statewide. That there was all kinds of kudos to them. So we got good press. And I just think that it emphasizes the fact that people are watching us and we can make a good impression or a bad impression for our family, for our schools, for our community by how we behave. And they passed that test.
Thank you very much for adding that. Yes, absolutely, Mr. Vickers. Any other comments? With that being said, this leads us to the adjournment of this meeting. I would stand for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Vickers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Vickers has moved and Mr. Bennett has seconded to adjourn this meeting. Is there any discussion?
I just have one quick point of discussion. I appreciate the comments that you made about the different polls and things like that. However, I think it deviated from the agenda. I don't see a place in the agenda. And I think it's great that we have those comments. But I think that perhaps, I don't know, is there a better place in the agenda, maybe during the superintendent's report, if there's something that we know ahead of time that we could.
Sure.
Because I think it's important that we stick to the agenda and because I can, I don't know. Cause problems if we're not following the agenda. So I just want to put that as a quick comment. I appreciate the comments. I think it's great. I think there's an appropriate place for it.
Great, thank you very much. Is there any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. Mr. Vickers,
Yes.
Mrs. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Talley,
Yes.
and I vote yes. This meeting is adjourned at 8:02 p.m.
Yeah, so what's the general problem? The.